Hey there, hi there, ho there. What's up? It's Asada. Welcome again to another episode of Gathering of the Griots. Yes, indeed, we feature Black writers who tell our stories from our perspective for our benefit. Let's get it. Today, we are rocking with a fiction writer, Corey Hops, letting us know what the deal is. He got the Southern flavor and the Southern stories to tell us, what do we need to face? Is it different now? We're gonna jump into it. But first, we're gonna pay homage to the female solution. Why? Because Naima Latif laid the foundation and made it so that we can be here today. So we're the Tuesday female solution show, Gathering of the Griots. So let's just give you a little bit more introspective, a little more insight of what the female solution is about. Take a look.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
All right, there we have it. Again, you're tuned into Gathering of the Griots. To every Tuesday morning, we come with some more goodness, period, point blank. But I love the exposure to Black writers because, we just don't have we don't really have enough of an avenue to come and let the world know what we're here for. And so, without further ado, I am going to introduce you to a brother like no other who is from Savannah, Georgia. I think that's where he's from as well, but tells us a story that really puts us there and helps us dive into issues that need to be addressed. So come on to the table. Hey, Brother Corey, how are you?
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm loving life. Very happy to have you with us here in the studio.
Very
And
happy to be here.
yeah. And so, me being a city girl, I get to immerse myself in other places, right?
Mhm.
Savannah is
Okay.
one of those places that I love because it has stuff like this. This look at this. It's like a tunnel of, it looks like it could be enchanting, but for some reason when I see stuff like this, it's not necessarily an enchanting feeling. A lot of these places with these trees that have those hanging willows, they look beautiful, but they feel like they have stories that aren't told in them. And some of those beautiful plantation homes. And can you just give a little background on, is this beauty really all that?
The spirits of the ancestors there. In some places you can feel the spirits of the ancestors there. It was a slave port, a major slave port. It's still a major port city. Um, but I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful city. Parts of it is very beautiful. It's a tour, it's a tourist city now. It's Charleston, South Carolina is its sister city, so they look a lot alike. If people have ever been to Charleston, or if they've been to Savannah, if you've been to Charleston, you've seen what Savannah looks like, and if you've been to Savannah, you've seen what Charleston looks like. So it's definitely one of those. I think if you've never been to the South, Savannah is probably a great city to visit. We have good people there. We have good people here. So, I like it. Am I a Savannah native? No, I wasn't born in Savannah. I
That's what I
grew up.
wanted to know. Yeah, too. Where
Yeah,
were
I
you?
grew up in Savannah. I was born in about 65 miles away from Savannah in a town called Jessup, Georgia, which is
Okay,
very rural Georgia.
got you.
Very rural Georgia. So
Like I mentioned before, I have some friends in Savannah, so I think I've even heard of Jessup. All I know is he be driving in the car and be going by some cows, and I'll be like, "What? Where
yeah,
you at?
yeah, yeah.
What's going on over there, country man? What's going on?" So I do love it. I love the beauty of the city. I love the energy of it. But I do feel that something went on here. And when I did a little research, I remember when I was there, this was definitely in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some things that, like I mentioned to you prior to the show, in the ground were those little link. It were like links that I was told chains were connected to. But I think bigger than that is what you were telling me about the presence and the caliber of the Black folks there. Because when you look at situations like, look at this, the ironwork, number one, they talk about how you see African symbology all throughout Savannah downtown, and because we were ironsmiths. And even if you look at some of those designs, you'll see like a Dinkworth like symbols. And that right there on the bottom left is like a chain, where a chain used to be connected in the wall. So can you just talk a little bit about it? Because and I'm doing this because when your book is placed in the South, correct?
It is. It's placed in the South. It's a looking for the right word. It's a conglomerate of a couple
Hmm.
of different places.
I see.
So definitely rural Georgia,
Hmm.
but in Savannah, when you talk about the artistry of Africans, you have to understand Savannah was a little, like I was telling you earlier, Savannah's was a little different than other slave cities. Uh,
Okay.
a lot of the Black artisans in Savannah, the boot makers, the hat makers, the uh, shipwrights that worked on the docks. Uh, these were skilled workers, so they were allowed to have businesses. You know, their own businesses. Now, of course, they had to share their prop their their profits with their masters, but they were allowed to have businesses because what if you were an enterprising master, it's easy to say, oh, we'll put 200 slaves or 100 slaves or 50 slaves into a field to pick cotton or peanuts or whatever your crop is. But I got these three people here who actually have skills beyond that. So what do I do with them? Do I break them down and keep them in the fields, or do I become a little more enterprising and let them open their own businesses and and contract them out, which is what happened in Savannah. If you walk down River Street and in the docks, in the docks area, the old docks area, you will see that there are these little portals or divots in the brickwork where people held, artisans held businesses. And by and large, most of those artisans were of African descent.
Mm. The stories that we don't know. That's what I'm talking about. That's really what this ends up being about. Now, do you find that there's any connection between the sort of the climate of Savannah, the history we just spoke of, and is there a tie to what you did in the story in terms of the caliber of Black folk in your story or the story itself? I guess I want you to also just kind of tell what time frame your story is written in. Freedom Summer.
Um, the story I tell uh, is, of course, historical fiction. The time frame is between it's during what was generally called Freedom Summer in history, which was 1963 to 1964. And if you really think about the concept of Freedom Summer, or what is commonly referred to as Freedom Summer, you find that it was not just one summer, it was about a 3-year period, because you will see that the Voting Rights Act happened during that summer. You will see that some very prominent people, Martin Luther King did his march on Washington during that 2 or 3 year period. You will find that the Freedom Riders started their campaign during that season. And what is commonly referred to as Freedom Summer, once you read about it, not in the book but in the history books, you find that it's longer than one summer. You know, it's about a 2 or 3 year span where African Americans and people of African descent were were coming into their own, as far as awakening to the fact of what our true power was and how we could actually move the nation. And we had a lot of strong leaders helping us move the nation, in a direction of more liberal or woke, what they would call liberal or woke thinking now. You had Malcolm X on one end of the spectrum. You had Martin Luther King on the other end of the spectrum. You had people like Medgar Evers. You had writers like James Baldwin. All of these people were making commentary and making moves to awaken Black people to who, not who we were, but who we actually are.
Mm.
So my book, which I entitled Freedom Summer, is about uh, a family and a tragedy that happens in that family, and how they try to gain justice and overcome that tragedy.
Mm, got you. And it's interesting because the tragedy that you mentioned in the book, we don't want to tell everything because we want people to get the book. And for those of you that are viewing, you'll see the web address to buy the book at the bottom of the page. So make sure you jot that down. But this tragedy, do you feel like it was heightened because of that time, because of the climate of that time, where you're talking about, from Malcolm to Martin, that means there was a political awareness that got the people hyped, right? And so, how, even in that time, how could something like this still happen, even though you had this heightened awareness of our people? It seems like you still had an incident like this be able to happen. And why do you think that was? What could have prevented that, maybe?
Um, it happened. It happens the way tragic people, when African Americans, when Black people engage in social action, in social and political action. If you read history and are a student of history and you look through history, you find that when we become socially active, when we become politically active, uh, violence ensues. And the violence is not necessarily, the violence is very rarely introduced by us. It's introduced onto us. It's something that happens to us because,
Mhm.
like it or not, or celebrate it or not, Black people are perceived as dangerous,
Mhm. Right.
and we're perceived as dangerous throughout the world.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, is that the truth? Well, in some senses, we've had to become dangerous.
Right.
You
I
know,
hear you. Mhm.
In Haiti, we had to become dangerous. That
Mhm.
was the way that Haiti was the first country in the Western Hemisphere that got independence. Now, what has happened to Haiti since then ha- is violence, and it's due to the fact that the people in Haiti are of African descent, you know, and they have, the corruption and violence that has happened in Haiti, and the lack of support that the rest of the world has given Haiti is because we are of African descent, you know. So, you know, is it is what happens in this book something that happens often? I think it is. I mean, you read the news today, and this book, the time period of this book is set 50 years apart from where we are now,
Mm.
60 years apart from where we are now.
Mhm.
Is violence still happening to African Americans now? You
Yes.
know, are we still the brunt of violence when we become socially active, when we
Mhm.
become politically active?
Mhm.
Look at what's happening in the government now.
Mhm.
Everything is, designed to get rid of DEI
Mhm.
because it wasn't fair.
Mhm.
How can something be unfair that they say uh, affects 13% of the population?
Hmm.
African Americans are 13 to 15% of the American population. How can something be unfair?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
So they say.
so they say,
Right. Right.
you know, but what is the solution? We still have to be socially active. We still have to be politically active, you know, you know, and or there is the option of violence. Now, I'm not a proponent of violence, but you know, I do believe a lot in what Malcolm X said. You protect yourself. You have to protect
Sure.
yourself.
Sure.
You know.
Sure, no question about it. You raise a question that I have literally written down, the solution, right? And I think one of the things that's great about your book is that, and one of the things that's great about us as authors in general, we get to pose a solution. We get to see the situation and then sift through the handling of the situation. And so, what is it about your main character that speaks to a solution, or does he speak to a solution to handle this tragic reality that we face that's steeped in racism?
Well, the main character in my book is he's a civil rights lawyer.
I see.
So he works for the NAACP legal fund,
Okay.
you know, which was extremely active in the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It is the reason Brown versus the Board of Education uh, happened. It is the reason a lot of desegregation in America happened, rightly or wrongly. Some people, a lot of black people will argue that desegregation was the worst thing that happened to
It's
us.
some, yeah, uh-huh.
You
I've
know,
heard that.
I don't know if that's true. I was born in 72.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but in some ways, you can see that, you know, where we definitely had to be more cohesive in
Mm-hmm.
that time than we are now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, the main character in my book, he's a lawyer, and
Mm-hmm.
he handles situations in a civil manner.
Okay.
You know, now he has a partner in the book who is not necessarily who does not necessarily handle situations in a civil manner,
Mm-hmm.
but that you know both sides of the coin are sometimes necessary. So I think the solution that I don't know if there's a necessarily a solution in the book. There's definitely an outcome. Now you have to
Mm-hmm.
decide if that outcome is, as a reader, you have to decide, is that outcome satisfactory for
Mm.
you?
Love it.
Because
Okay.
life is not uh, life is not clean. It's
I
messy.
feel hey, say that.
And God does not build in straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
So is it satisfact is the outcome in the book satisfactory for you? I mean, you have to decide that for yourself.
Which makes for a great story, because it's all about, we all have our own abilities and our own willingness to
Right.
confront or not these situations. So I do love that you create that reality for people and allow them to determine that, right? And your due diligence was done by writing the doggone book, because this is how we can confront issues. We can confront issues by putting them in art and putting them in a book and putting them in theater. And so the fact that you wrote that book is so important. Also, just the fact that you're getting it out. There's some instances here that I want to show. And of course I'll show in a minute, because y'all came to the Soulful Chicago Book Fair, traveled from Savannah to the book fair on one of the hottest days in Chicago, Lord. But I first want to show this. What was this event? And what were
Uh,
you
that
doing?
that event was at a college in rural Georgia called Southwest Georgia Tech, and I did a book signing for, uh, and I'm probably going to get the name of the organization wrong, but it was for a teachers organization,
Okay.
which I'm a teacher, so
Oh, nice.
I always do. I'm always willing to do things for teachers in the realm of education.
Gotcha.
So uh, I was invited to do a book signing and a poetry reading
Mm-hmm.
for them, and I went, and I went down there, and it was a great time. It was a great
Nice.
time.
Nice. I see the people there. You're doing your book sign. You're signing your books for them, and those people that are in these pictures are fellow teachers.
Just about everybody in that room, and it was probably about 50 people in that room
Nice.
that day. Just about everybody in that room is a teacher. I want to say in that particular picture that you're showing there, uh, every one of those people are either teachers or retired teachers.
I see. Got you. Got you. I'm not getting to this other stuff here. I'm not showing that goodness. But so teachers or retired teachers, we love to have your book touch educators. Because once your book touches educators, it's a wrap. That means the class itself is apt to read the book. Um, and I guess I can ask this about the future of the book. Do you see it in political science classes? Do you think it's fit for that, like in college settings where political science classes can use it?
It's definitely not a child's book.
Gotcha. Yeah,
There are words in there that are not appropriate for young children.
I got you.
Um, Teenagers, young adults. I've had a lot of people read the book, and they enjoy the book,
Yep.
uh, but it's definitely not a child's book. And at that particular signing, there were a few children there, and I had a few of the teachers were like, "I'm going to let my child read the book," and I was
Yeah.
kind of like,
It does. Yeah, it doesn't come off as if it should be, but I see it as a
it's not a,
yeah.
I'm always, because I'm a teacher, you know, I do in class, in my classes, and I teach uh, literature and math. So in my classes, I'm always a proponent of reading. Reading
Yep.
is important.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, Parents have to guide their children what to read and why.
Sure. Sure.
We're in a generation where kids just turn it, you put your kid in front of TV and they watch YouTube and they see anything.
They sure
You
do.
know, I, I was never a parent like that. We always watched what our children were going to watch.
Yes.
We monitored that. We scanned what they read, and as they grew older, they, of course, they made their own choices of what they read. But you know, it, I think that it's appropriate for upper level high school, young
Yeah.
adult, college students.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm going to do a second edition of the book, and it's going to be more expanded. Uh, this book is a really short book. It's only about 150 pages. So when I get it to where I eventually want it, and like I said, it's a good book. I am very proud of this book, but what I want to do is explore my characters a little more, and I'm going to expand the book as well. So
Which brings me to my question. I had a question about the future of the book and what you wanted to do. We're going to go to a commercial break in a minute, but uh, you just told me like, okay, good, volume 2 or expanded edition, because I was like, I wonder if this is a screenplay. Like, I wonder if this is film ready. Like, is this something, a goal that it has? And so, is that something that you're thinking of, screenplay wise?
we'll say we've had inquiries. So
Gotcha.
we'll leave it at that for now.
Gotcha.
I don't I
Because I
don't
can,
I don't count chickens
hey,
before they're hatched.
I
So
hear you.
we'll see what the future holds. Right now, the book is doing well. It's selling. Uh, is doing well, and we're going to see what happens in the future, especially once I expand the book more.
Sure, sounds good. And you guys, the way I even met Corey was because they flew in from Savannah, Georgia to Chicago and appeared at the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. That is him there in that picture at their table. That's my man, Rashawn Bolden, which you all work together a lot, correct?
We do. We we published a book some time ago called Urban Journalism,
Okay,
and it's a poetry. It's a book of poetry. Rashawn is primarily a poet. You
got
know,
you.
so we published the book when we didn't have gray hair, um, and when we published that book, it was received well. Uh, I want to say we probably sold, just traveling around and doing poetry, performing poetry. I think we sold about eight, nine 100,000
Amazing.
copies of that book.
Amazing.
And dating myself, that book came out in 2006. So it's still selling whenever we go and do poetry shows. We still sell a lot of copies of that book.
I love that, which we're going to confront that book and look at it in a minute. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, you guys. Do not go anywhere. We are chilling with Corey Hops, who not only is a fiction writer, but he is a poet as well. We're going to get some of that glory in a moment. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break, like I said, and look at, we got some things coming up. So let me expose you to a little bit of what's in store. So don't go nowhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Soulful Chicago Black History Book Fair.
Hey family, this is Charles Humphrey of MCH Publishing, and I'm here with Ashada, and we at the Soulful Chicago Book what?
This is the Soulful Chicago Black History Book Fair, slamming.
We getting down in Hyde Park. Just run it down, my sister. Just tell us, for the people, a little bit about what we're doing here today and why.
You know, this is the Soulful Chicago Black History Book Fair. And this month is very important. I feel like we don't give it the type of recognition that it needs. But beyond that, I do all things literary. And we have so many ancestors that have taken a tradition of writing and done great things. Well, we have those of us that are carrying on that tradition, and nobody knows about them until now. So the Soulful Chicago Black History Book Fair is allowing us to tell our stories according to ourselves for our own benefit. And it's just beautiful. I mean, she could have been here today if you wasn't here. But if you were, it's been amazing. People came in consistently, children, and we have children's authors. We have nonfiction authors. We have fiction authors. This is really good. And it's about taking our own power in our own hands and doing what we do on the literary tip, though.
Right.
I got to work, but I can't help it. Everything going too smooth. Not just about bring my Africans in like this. Bring in the Africans.
All right. So we got the Black History Book Fair coming up, Soulful Chicago Black History Book Fair. And of course, it's in February. We're looking at February 15th. That's the date. That's a Sunday. So we're doing a little flippity flip. I took a poll, and it's going to come up on February 15th. All right. But the community, we have like more than one community that's like, we want to hear, we want it there. So we haven't revealed that just yet, but people are registering already, period. So if you are interested, you're an author, go to the website you see below that says soulfulchicagobookfair.com. And there is a button that says author submission. So you can just go ahead and get yourself registered. I think nonfiction is in the mix right now. They might be leading, but those children's authors have been coming too. So over a dozen now authors have already registered, and hey, we're keeping it rolling. So definitely come to the table. But that's the reason we do the Black History Book Fairs, because we making history. We ain't just got to be talking about history. We are continuing to make it every day. And that is important for legacy leaving. So without further ado, I want to bring back to the stage my man, Corey Hops. Let's bring him back. Thank you for being here.
And thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Don't even play. What? I love the fact that y'all made the dedication to even connect with us and, get in the family. Once you're in the family, you're in the family. That's just the bottom line. And so I want to get into, though, you're not just this author of a fiction book, Freedom Summer, which we exposed to you earlier, guys, but you're a poet. You've said that, and I kind of want to show your energy as a poet, because you just finished talking about this book here. You said that, let me show it. You said that this urban journalism book it's a poetry book of you and the brother Rashawn. So just talk a little bit about what's the subject matter, and do you feel that the subject matter of the poetry book mirrors what exists in your fiction book, like the issues that are prevalent in Are they similar?
Um, the urban journalism covers a lot of topics. It covers politics. It covers love. It covers divine and metaphysical
Mm,
issues. It covers everything. The when we wrote that book, uh, we Rashawn and I were like, what do we want to do? And we are both into education. Education is important. Now, do I believe formal education, like going to college? I went to college. I got 2 master's degrees. Rashawn has a degree. Um, but is college by any means the only way to gain or garner education? It's not. But reading is important. And we both felt that people don't read anymore. They like to hear, which, we use spoken word to draw people in, but we also want them to read. So the subject matter in urban journalism, you're going to get a lot of different things. You're going to get some poems that are funny. You're going to get some poems that are very serious. You're going to get some poems that are sad or happy. It's a celebration of all the things that life is. And
wow.
life is all of those things. You know.
Right.
Um, both of us are from Savannah. We both live in Savannah. So when we use the topic urban journalism, that came from we used to do we were part of a poetry collective
Mm-hmm.
where we did a lot of performance pieces, and we wrote these plays using only poetry to tell the story of the play. And that particular book was the beginning of a play that we did called Urban Journalism. So when we wrote this book, we had in mind to bring the book to life.
Wow.
So you know, and in that play, it was a it was a newscast.
Okay.
We told about the topics of the day and what was going on in America, because we are Black Americans,
Mm-hmm.
and I know people like to say, and I use the term too, and I think it's become interchangeable, African Americans, because we like to emphasize the that we are descendants of Africa, displaced descendants of Africa, but
Mm-hmm.
descendants of Africa nevertheless. But we are, without a doubt, Black Americans, and
Mm-hmm.
we have a unique history of our in and of itself.
Period.
So and I've heard and had Africans say, you are not the real Black people. Well, okay, but it
Hey,
don't get no realer than being a Black American, sir.
word up. Every revolutionary in our history, from Marcus Garvey to Kwame Nkrumah, came through to touch African Americans to understand and learn how to do this revolutionary vibe. Period. You want to know how to do revolution, you better touch us,
Right.
because
You
we from brimstone and fire, baby. Like what?
we've always had to be revolutionary because it's been a struggle since 1619 when they dropped those first 30 slaves off
Mm, mm,
in I think it was Point Good Hope in Massachusetts. We
mm.
had to be
Come on.
we had to be revolutionary. We had to figure out how to be or how to exist and survive in an alien world,
Period.
and we've done that for 400 years now,
Yep, yep, yep.
you know, and
Yeah.
I tell people, and I've argued with people from Africa, you cannot tell us of Black America, or you can't tell me that we are not a resilient and real people. Between 1865, when we were quote unquote freed, and only 1% of the African descendants in this country could read.
Mm-hmm.
And over the next 10 years, we had a 400% increase in literacy in
Mm.
10 years. From
Wow.
1865 to 1875, those former slaves and their descendants educated themselves.
Come on with it.
And largely since then we've been educating ourselves. No one wanted us educated. We had some philanthropic efforts from certain members of the white community, but by and large, we educated ourselves. We built our own schools. We built our own cities. No one helped us do that. We did that.
Mm.
So you when we came up with the concept of urban journalism, we
Mm-hmm.
were telling a story of of Black Americans,
Say that.
how we see America, and how we
Got you.
perceive America, and how we live in America.
Got you. Now, are you willing to share a poem or two with us today?
Oh, sure.
Now,
Um,
and
now,
what you're going to read, is it from urban journalism or no?
a couple of poems will be from urban journalism.
Okay.
A couple of poems will be poems that have not made it into a book yet, but Rashawn and I are concept building a new book. And it may be called Urban Journalism 2, or we may just add many of our older poems into our new book.
Okay.
So I know that we're going to do a project probably early next year.
Got you.
But the work is there. The work is done.
Got you.
I think it's just finding the time for us to
Yeah,
get it
finish the product.
together.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the website that we're showing at the bottom of the page. I know they can get Freedom Summer from. Where can they get urban journalism?
Okay, urban journalism. Now that is a direct buy. That's a
Okay.
direct buy. So you have to actually email me
Got you.
to purchase that book, and the email is really simple. I probably got one of the oldest emails in the history of the world. It's Corey Hops at yahoo.com.
It ain't. Oh, if it said AOL, I might have said maybe that's true, but
I mean, just because no one just has only their name and the email site anymore.
that's
They always
cool.
have a number with it. But I've had that email account for probably about 20 years now.
We love it. So, if they want to get urban journalism, because I'm going to put it on the screen for everybody.
If they want to get urban journalism, hit me up at Corey Hops at yahoo.com. You can also hit, and I honestly have to look it up because I never email Rashawn. We talk on the phone every day.
Yeah.
So I don't, only time I'm emailing him is to say, oh, here's some information about this. Oh,
Sure.
okay. You can purchase it at Corey Hops at yahoo.com or Indigo and Quill 7 at gmail.com.
Got you.
And
Got you.
put in the message line uh urban journalism.
Got you. So you guys see this. I put it at the bottom of the screen. It's that email if you want to get Urban Journalism, which is the poetry book of Corey Hops. That's the email you can contact off the cuff. And like he said, subject, put Urban Journalism and be able to add to the 8 to 9,000 copies that they have already sold. I want to use some of this time. We're the time is waning. So we want to make sure we get some of your poetry in the mix. So what will you share with us right now?
First poem I'll share is called She and Me.
She and Me. So you guys giving it up to Corey Hops. Listen in. He's taking the stage.
You better hope I remember. Anyway, She and Me. She's black with black hair and big, beautiful brown eyes. She's soft, rounded lips and slightly clingy skirts, revealing as little as possible, or as little as hips as full and supple as hers can be. She's silky blouses with blue blazers and gold buttons concealing power that she knows she's got, but is still unsure she wants. Me, I'm all weakness and worry about the whole affair. She can't stop anything she's doing, and everything she's doing leaves me dizzy. Thoughts of her are deforming me, and I can't sleep. I swear she's an endorphin to me. She's not even aware of herself. No, no, that part's for me. She's not even aware of herself like midnight or the sun, you see. You see, that part's for me. And as for me, well, I'm the cat watching the canary, only it's the canary with the teeth. That's that.
How? Hercules. Who don't want to be that sister? Boop, 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 boop. Love that energy. I want to just show this because you've had some open houses and poetry nights. Are you just guests at these events, or did you put these events on?
We put those events on. We do a poetry event once a poetry event once a month.
Okay.
In Savannah called at the Stables, and we call it therapy sessions. And no, it is not a horse stable. This is just we just call it the Stables.
That's cool.
But it's we invite local artists from around the city, and it doesn't matter what your art is. You can come in there and play spoons if you want to.
Got you.
So you better be a very good spoon player.
Got
you. Guitarists, poets, singers. You got to be able to sing a cappella.
Nice.
You can rap, but you got to be able to rap a cappella. You cannot come in there with your track. We're not trying to give you no record contract. Yeah. We're just trying to expose artists to the public and let them show off their work.
Nice. That's beautiful. I love that you do that. People need spaces to get their create, and places that validate their create. So I'm so happy you do that. And I'm happy you do it because my thing is, you being a writer yourself, you could create the venue for your own work. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important to do. That's how I started the book fair. I was like, I'm an author. Like, where's the show for authors? And so if it don't exist, you got to make it.
Exactly.
Period. Point blank.
Exactly. If you have written a fiction book, you come in there and read a chapter.
Nice.
We're gonna listen.
Gotcha.
It is important. We want all the You know, we want all the weird people, all the strange people. You know, we because I'm a weird person. So we want all those people that the stables is and the therapy session. That's why we call it a therapy session. Get that
Uh-huh.
stuff off your chest.
I
Whatever
love
you
it.
need to whenever you need to say, you know.
Sure. I love that. Let me ask a question because in your photos, social media, even in our book fair photo, you made it clear, let it be known that this was a reality. Come on, Q Sci-Fi. So here, without you getting into the background and any kind of secrecy or whatever, what do you feel how do you feel that your fraternity reflects the work that you do? Because to me, you mesh them all together, and obviously you have a affinity for your fraternity. I went to Northwestern, and I love some of the brothers that were Qs, but do you feel that there's a connection to what you exemplify as a Black man focusing on these issues and your fraternity?
Certainly. First of all, I love my fraternity. My fraternity is the greatest fraternity on earth. On earth. Let me say that for some of my other D9 brothers who are not in my fraternity. Omega Psi Phi is the greatest fraternity on earth.
On earth.
On earth. Uh, does it is it seen through my work? Four words, which are our pillars: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, uplift. That is what Omega Sci-Fi is about. That is what I am about. That's what I will always be about. Uh, in my family, if you are in a fraternity, you are most likely an Omega man. Um, we got a alpha and a kappa somewhere in there, but uh, again, Omega Psi Phi is the greatest fraternity on the planet. So, you know, and in my work, as I said a second ago, always will reflect manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift, which is the precepts of any Black man in America.
That's right.
You have to be into those uh, uh, four things,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just had to ask that because I say, yes, he repping his fraternity in so many of these images that I'm seeing. And I do know, without knowing the particulars of the structure of the organization, I just wanted to hear the marriage between the two and how being in that fraternity inspires, what you have in your work, in your writings. And like you said, the pillars definitely reflect that. And so while we're almost gone, Lord have mercy, I have so much more I want to say. Your father, and how do your children feel about your work? They're not little people, they grown.
I'm an empty nester. I'm an empty nester. How do they feel about work? You know what? I they don't even read my stuff.
I can relate.
They've
I
been
can
to
relate.
they've been to poetry shows before.
Mm-hmm.
Do they read the I I don't think they've read this book.
I
But
understand.
we don't discuss that. That's just something dad does. And
I
he's
understand.
always written. So it's not, when they were younger, they were their mother and I, we got divorced when they were very young.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not they were not concerned about what I wrote.
I hear
They
you.
were concerned about, is my father here? Is
Yeah.
my dad going to be at the function, at the soccer game, at the banquet, at the this, at the that? That's what
Mm-hmm.
they were. That's what they were concerned about. As
Sure.
they got older, you know, as your children get older, they branch out.
Tell me about it.
And it's up to me to keep track of them.
Yeah.
So I think my son, because he's an avid reader, has read my books. But again, that's not something we discuss. When I'm with them, I'm more interested in what they're doing and how they're doing and how they're thriving and are they okay, and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I think I want to say that's probably how it is for most artists, most people who take part in art. Their children are not, unless they get into that, I don't even think they will think about that unless I could become some New York Times bestselling author.
I can relate so much. I have a daughter, she's 22, and while I don't think she's sat down and read my books, but there's a way that we live our books. You understand what I'm saying? We live the ideology in it that they then get to watch. And I think that makes an impact on them, because that's just, like you say, that's just dad, but they're watching though. You know what I'm saying? And they're listening and watching. And I think that's our due diligence. That's what we can do to make sure that the legacy is passed on. They may or may not write a book. My daughter's first book came out when she was 7. Got it. She wrote a book because her mama was an author, and that's what I can show her how to do. I know how to do that, and so I think that while they don't sit down and read our work per se, they get to live us. And I think that's how that morphs into them learning the lessons that we teach through our work. And so, man, we got a minute left. Is there any word of wisdom you want to give to our readers, to our listeners, to people about your book? Anything that you want to give them before we leave?
Not necessarily about my book, but in general, read. Reading is going the way of cursive writing. People don't read anymore. We get everything from Facebook or Instagram or X or any number of different sites, but we don't sit down and read books. And reading is important. Not only is it a skill that should never be lost, but it is a way of escaping into a world that is not your own. When I was younger, that's how I got all my solace, from reading, and that's why I write books now.
Nice. Look, there you have it with its simplicity, guys. Read. And that's what we do here at Gathering of the Griots. We bring the storytellers so you can do just that. Brother Corey, love you. Thank you for being here today. It's been a wonderful hour. Yeah, no doubt. I love your wisdom. I'm going to have to do a little trip to Savannah and get that little vibe out there.
Yeah. Come on, we're ready.
Yeah, one of your sets. I'm one of the crazy people that could be at the sets. One of the weird folks that could be at the set. Right. You guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday with the greatness of Gathering of the Griots. Take peace. It's been wonderful. And we're going to close on out with the female solution. Peace.
Peace.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jareth. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.